Hello everyone. Today we are bringing yet another session of paper discussion. I am Sanjeev Talukdar and welcome to Sri Chaitanya IIT Academy. So we will be doing the analysis of the 6th of September, that is the second shift, as you can see. So quickly, without delay, we will move on to the questions. So here we see the first question. The first question is from solid state, right? They are asking about FCC. You read the question. A crystal is made up of metal M1 and M2 and oxide ions, right? Now after that, oxide ions form a CCP structure. That means CCP means FCC. So from there, effectively how many O2 minus ions will be present? It is 4. Now what more, M1 occupies 50% of the octahedral voids. Now what are the octahedral voids in FCC? It is same as the effective number of atoms, and that is 4, right? So 4 octahedral voids, but then 50% is occupied. 50% is occupied. So out of these only 2 voids are occupied. Now what else? M2, it occupies 12.5% of tetrahedral voids. Now how many tetrahedral voids are there in an FCC? That is 8, twice the effective number of atoms, and that is 8. Now 12.5% means what? Means 1 by 8. Means what? 1 by 8. And if you do 1 by 8, you are going to get 1. So who is there in tetrahedral voids? Who is there in tetrahedral voids? M2. So how many M2 will be there? 1. Who is there in octahedral void? M1. And how many of them are there? 2. And how many O minus 2 in a unit FCC? We see 4. So what will be the formula? It will be M2 M1 times of 2 and O4. So each of these oxygen is present in minus 2, which makes the total negative minus 8. So there has to be a total of plus 8, right? So this has to be present in plus 3 and this has to be present in plus 2. That will make a total of plus 8. So as we can see, the oxidation state of M1 is plus 3 and M2 is plus 1. So where is that answer? It is 4, right? So solid state FCC, very expected topic. Okay. Also I suggest you to go through the defects, right? Now next question. Now next question here we have from alkenes. Alkenes undergo what? Electrophilic addition reaction. And now the first one here you see, we are basically taking or doing this addition in presence of a peroxide, and we know Karsh effect, right? So Karsh effect will undergo, that is peroxide is there. So it is nothing but Karsh effect. So here the addition will be anti-Markovnikov addition, and you are going to get this particular alkyl bromide. While this is my A, I will move on to B. And what is B? B, you see, we have this alkene and we are doing HBr, and that is a normal electrophilic addition reaction. We are going to add according to Markovnikov's rule, and we are going to get this particular bromide, alkyl bromide. While in case of C, we are going to get so all of these are positional isomers. All of these are positional isomers. Now as the branching increases, what? Branching increases, surface area decreases, right? And so van der Waals force also decreases, and therefore boiling point will also decrease. So which one is going to have the greatest boiling point? This fellow, right? So this fellow A should have the greatest boiling point, and then we have C, and then we have B. So B is the least one because of maximum branching. So this makes the answer option number 1, right? So next question. The next question here we see from amines, it is preparation of amines, right? And very basic, right? The last line of NCERT, you go through the last line, it is said there, it is used, see this particular fellow, Gabriel phthalimide synthesis, it is used for the preparation of 1-degree amines. It is used for the preparation of 1-degree amines. So your task is to find out which of the following is 1 degree. So if you go through it, clearly this is my 1-degree amine and this is best produced by Gabriel phthalimide. Next question. Next question is again from organic chemistry. You can think of the preparation of benzaldehyde, aromatic compounds, very important, very expected. Now the first one, right, the first one, if you go through the option, if you are going to put benzene and you're going to put these set of reagents, you're going to put this set of reagents. Now this process is called oxo process, and in this process you are going to get benzaldehyde, right? Now they are asking, you start with these fellows and you put this set of reagents and you are going to get benzaldehyde in which of the cases? That is the question. Now you talk about benzonitrile, right? You talk about benzonitrile, that means this fellow, right? And the third is your benzoyl chloride. Now there is a famous reduction, that is Rosenmund reduction. You put this set of reagent, this is my third, you put this set of reagent, you are going to get a benzaldehyde. This is Rosenmund reduction, right? All these are name reactions, so very, very important. Now what else? Okay, this is left here, benzoyl, okay, we have done this one is done, this is left, this is my 2. You put here this particular set of reagents. You are going to get benzaldehyde. Now this is basically your Stephens reduction. So name reactions are pretty much important, as you can see here. This is also a name process. So if you match them, one should go with R, one should go with R. We have here and we have here. Then 2 should go with P. 2 should go with P. So here we have 2P and third should go with Q. Yes, it matches with second option. So that is my answer. Next question. Again, this question is from electrochemistry, and the cell that has been asked is concentration cell. So in the concentration cell, the representation is given in this particular manner, and it has been said that delta G of this cell is negative when it is negative. That is the condition they are asking. So what is the oxidation process happening at anode? This is the oxidation process. Copper solid getting converted into copper +2 aqueous, but then there is a concentration, and this particular value is the concentration, so we will write it C1 within the bracket +2 electrons. Now what is the process happening at cathode? The process is reduction, and what is that process? Same ion, the concentration here it is C2, as we can see, we will put C2 here. Since it is a reduction, so it will grab 2 electrons and it will get reduced to copper metal. Now these are the two reduction reactions, these are the two reactions happening at the anode and the cathode. Now if you will see for the overall reaction, now overall it will be copper solid plus copper +2. Let me write down the concentration, that is C2. Electrons will get cancelled. Electrons will get cancelled. and in the right hand side we will be having copper plus 2. What is the concentration? C1 is the concentration, plus again copper solid. We'll remove the copper solid because solids never appear in the equilibrium constant expression, while we are left out with only copper plus 2 ions. But why we're keeping it? Because the concentrations are different. Now we are going to apply Nernst equation here. E cell is equal to E naught cell minus 0.06 upon 2 because there are 2 electrons, log of product upon reactant. The product upon reactant, you see a C1 here, you see a C2 here, right. So now this particular term is 0 because it is a concentration cell. Same chemical species is oxidized and same chemical species is reduced, so it has to be 0. Now if we write down the expression of delta G, which is equal to minus N E F, right, they are saying delta G will be negative. Delta G has to be negative, right, it has to be negative when this particular fellow will be positive, right. Now this particular fellow is this one. Now this has to be positive, there is a negative in front of it. When this will be positive? When this entire thing will become negative. When this entire thing will become negative. Now when this entire thing will become negative, when the numerator will be lesser and the denominator will be greater, that means C2 is greater than C1. C2 is greater than C1. That means the concentration at the cathodic compartment has to be greater than the anodic compartment, and there is no such option we see here. Now from this data, if we analyze, C2 has to be greater. So where is that option? Where is that option? Now if you see this one, here it is not greater, they are given equal. Now here C1 is greater, so only option 4 suggests that C2 is greater than C1, and therefore we will go with option number 4. Next question. Next question here, already something is there, so let me rub it up. Now this question is directly from NCERT, right. NCERT, if you go through the nitrogen family, you will get the oxides table there, right. There is a very beautiful table given there. So in that table there are 5 oxides, and one of the preparation they are asking. Which preparation? NO, when it will react with N2O4, you are going to get N2O3, and this is a solid, and the color is important, people, that is blue. So this is as it is directly asked from NCERT, so this is going to give you option number 3. Next question. Next question is again a very basic information asked from metallurgy, right. This year from metallurgy even questions are asked. So you can see here distillation. They are asking which element we need to select that element which can be defined or refined by distillation, right. For distillation, what is the criteria? Boiling point has to be low. That means they should be soft metals, right. These fellows, zinc, cadmium, mercury, they are refined by this process. So we have to select any one of them. Yes, zinc is there, so this is my answer. Next question. The next question is again an information, and this is particularly found in F block. So this is the F block question. Mist metal is a very interesting alloy. It's actually an alloy, right. It contains lanthanides, almost 95%, it varies also sometimes depending on the use, and 5% iron. 5% iron, sometimes sulfur and carbon is also found there. Now what lanthanides? Cerium. Cerium is roughly 50% in a typical Misch metal, right. Then you will be finding lanthanum also. Lanthanum is roughly 20%, right. And we have other lanthanides also here, and that makes it the answer number 1. Now what is the use of this Misch metal? That you should focus more. It is used in lighters, right. The aim is to prepare a metal who is like soft, right. A little bit aggression on it can cause a spark, right. So that is like a pyrophoric metal. you rub it out that metal, it will spark, right? So that is why it has been prepared so that we can use it in lighters, right? Next question. The next question is a very typical question, right? This reaction is given and the Kc is given. What is the Kc, people? It is given as 64. This is the Kc. At what temperature? 800 Kelvin. Now very easy, what to do? They are asking the Kc of this one. Very easy, what to do? You just reverse this reaction. If I reverse that reaction, it will be 2NH3 changing into 3H2 plus N2, right? What will be the Kc of this fellow? This reaction, you take a inverse. You take a inverse. This is 64, then this one will be 1 upon 64. Now they are asking about this equation, this equilibrium. So how to convert this one into that? You multiply by half. You multiply by half. So if you multiply this one by half, you are going to get this one. Right? So now they are asking the Kc of this. What you need to do? You need to take a power of 1 by 2. You need to take a power of 1 by 2, which will make it 1 upon 8. So where I see 1 upon 8, yes, 4 is the answer. Next question. The next question is from hydrogen, preparation of hydrogen. You will find this in the NCERT. Again, this is a question from NCERT. They are asking high purity hydrogen can be prepared by. So high purity hydrogen is obtained via electrolysis. So you have to go for electrolysis. So clearly this will, you will strike this out, right? Now this one is a laboratory method. This one is a laboratory method. Now others are electrolysis. But these cases you do not get hydrogen very, very pure. Here you are going to get hydrogen very, very pure, right? So the answer here becomes 10, option number 1. Next question. The next question here is again from S block, you can say. They are asking the uses on one column and compounds on the other column. So you have to match it out, right? So where we find this particular thing used? So let me see. So if you don't know, try to find the one which you know for a certain. Suppose there are 4 things are given, 4 chemical species are given. Now you might not know all of them, but you can know at least one of them. So you try to see where. This is something very easy. This is something very easy to pick, and this is also very easy to pick, right? Okay, I am picking this one. This is nothing but what? Gypsum, right? This is what? Gypsum. So you can make a calculative guess that it is used in the statues. So 3 should match with A. So where we have that? 3 should match with A. Yes, we got our answer. But still we will see the others also. NaCl, it is used in the preparation of washing soda, Solvay process, Na2CO3, right? It is used in the preparation of Na2CO3. Let us cross check. 2 should match with D. 2 should match with D. Yes, it is there. Now what about 1? 1 is matching with this particular option, that is what? Whitewash. Whitewash, you might have heard, right? When houses are built, they whitewash it. So basically they bring here chuna. It's called chuna in Hindi, right? So this is chuna. So basically it is used in whitewash. It is also a very common idea, a common compound, and we know its use. So that makes the option 4 to be correct. Next question. Next question, here we have IUPAC name. IUPAC name of this particular compound. Now this compound is aromatic, right? Now aromatic compounds, how you write down the name? We write down the name as a derived name. Now derived name, for you to have a derived name, you select the senior most functional group, that is my aldehyde, right? I see aldehyde is the senior most one, and this particular substance I will pick it out. What do I call this particular fellow? Benzaldehyde. So now this particular fellow is benzaldehyde. So this particular compound will be named as a derivative of benzaldehyde. So So these options I will strike it out, either this one is this or this. Now at the second position, if this is first carbon, this is second, this is third, this is fourth, this is fifth. So at the second position you have a nitro. At the second you have a nitro. Yes, there is also nitro, there is also nitro. At the fourth you have a hydroxymethyl. This particular group is hydroxymethyl. So at 4 we have hydroxymethyl, here also, here also. At 5 we have amino, at 5 we have amino. Yes, now the order. What order you write down the name? Alphabetically. So I see alphabetic order maintained here, so this makes my answer 4. So this question is from metallurgy, and if you can see the question, they are giving you a process, and this process is oxide formation process. The free energy change is plotted as a function of temperature. That means we are talking about the Ellingham diagram. Say for example, delta G will be equal to delta H minus T delta S for a reaction, right, because it happens at constant temperature. Now if you are plotting delta G against temperature, right, you are going to get straight lines. You are going to get straight lines with the slope equal to minus delta S, and the y intercept is equal to delta H. You are going to get this kind of lines, right. So T is plotted on x axis, and on y axis delta G is plotted, right. Now what they are asking, the temperature below which the oxide is stable be inferred from the plot as a point. Now please try to understand that this is a plot for this particular reaction happening at different temperatures. Say for example, this is T1, this is T2, this is T3. Now suppose this is T3 and suppose this is T1. What is the delta G value at T1? Delta G value is this value, and this value, if suppose this point indicates the 0 mark, currently this value is negative. And what is the value at temperature T3? At temperature T3 the value is somewhere here, which is positive. So if delta G is positive, the process is non-spontaneous, and if delta G is negative, the process is spontaneous, right. So from that knowledge, what we will say, the oxide will be stable. Oxide will be stable if we follow this line. This is the temperature, this is the temperature, some temperature T, and at this temperature T, you see, you go left hand side of it, the delta G values are negative, and you go right hand side of it, the delta G values are positive. So this marks the boundary before and after the oxide will be stable. So oxide will be stable at a temperature below this. Oxide will be stable at a temperature below this. So this makes the answer number 1. The free energy change shows a change from negative. So here suppose a point, if you consider here it is negative, and a point after temperature T, here it is positive. So the free energy change shows a change from negative to positive value. Negative to positive value, that will give you the stability of the oxide at that particular temperature. That means simple, below this particular temperature, that means this side the oxide will be stable, and above that temperature the oxide will be not stable, right. So that makes the option 1. So next question here. Next question is from so many tests that you study in class 11 itself, and some of them you study in class 12 also. Lucas test, right, you have to match the reagent, right, very easy. Lucas test is this fellow, concentrated HCl and ZnCl2. Now if you match that one, so where do you find 1 belongs to D? So 1 belongs to D is either 1 or 4. So 3 or 2 you eliminate. Then what else you know? Hinsberg test. Hinsberg reagent is benzene sulfonyl chloride. Benzene sulfonyl chloride. So this is again a very important, it is a distinction between primary, secondary and tertiary amines. This is used to distinguish them. So you see that here, right. So 4 should match with A, 4 should match with A. So 4 should match with A. Here we are finding that, so we will eliminate 1 also. My answer will be 4. But then you can see for Gelda's method also, this is a very popular one. Here H2SO4 is used. H2SO4 is used. So 3 should match with E, and what else is left? Dumas method. Here copper oxide is used, so 2 should match with C, right? Next question. The next question is from biomolecules. A disaccharide lactose is asked. So we need to make the structure of lactose. So lactose is a disaccharide. You are having this particular structure. So this is the structure of lactose. This is beta D-galactose, right, and this is, here I have drawn beta D-glucose, and this is the glycosidic linkage 1,4, beta 1,4 glycosidic linkage. This carbon is the first carbon of galactose, while this carbon is the fourth carbon of glucose, right? So now we will go through one by one. It is a reducing sugar and it gives Fehling state, but before that mark the keyword, that is they are asking not correct. Okay, is it a reducing sugar and does it give Fehling's test? See, this particular part will remain in equilibrium with its open form. That means aldehyde will be there, and if aldehyde will be there, it is a reducing sugar and it gives Fehling's test. So it is a correct statement. Option number 2, lactose is a disaccharide and it contains 8 hydroxyl groups. So let's count: 1, 2, 3, 4. We see 4 here, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yes, it's a disaccharide, that is also correct. So this statement is also correct. On acidic hydrolysis, if you do the hydrolysis of this one, what you are going to get? You are going to get these two monosaccharides. That means you are going to get a D-glucose, correct, and D-galactose. Yes, yes, this statement is also correct, which makes my answer number 4. But still we will see the incorrect statement is this one, and it makes incorrect because the linkage is beta. The linkage is beta. Here they are calling it alpha. So next question. Next question is from inorganic chemistry, right? P block. The reaction of an inorganic sulfite X with dilute H2SO4 generates a compound Y, and the reaction of Y with NaOH gives X. So little bit confusing, the words are little bit confusing. What the question is actually meaning to say is this: focus on what I am writing. Suppose we have sulfur, now this sulfur, you are making it reaction with H2SO4, then you are going to get SO2 gas, Now this SO2 gas, if you react with NaOH, you are going to get a sulfite, that is Na2SO3. You are going to get Na2SO3. That means what? They are saying this is X because further reaction of X with Y and water. So it is little bit confusing. All the statements here written in a very wrong manner. Don't focus on that. What the question is really saying, this is X, and when you put water on X, you are going to get H2SO3, right? You are going to get H2SO3, and also if you put acid here, then also you are going to get SO2 gas. also you are going to get SO2 gas. So something like this. So since the question is not very proper, so we will not discuss this one. We will move on to the next question. Here they are asking the octahedral field, that is CFT octahedral field, they are asking for a D4 metal and the correct electronic configuration. So octahedral splitting is particularly in this way. The splitted d orbitals will look like this. This is my Eg set, while this is my T2g set. Now if it is a D4 configuration, we have to portray, right, we have to portray a D4 configuration. What is there in option 1? Please identify. Pairing is greater, right, pairing is greater, delta O is less. So we will not going to pair here, we are not going to pair here, we are simply put the 4th electron in the Eg orbital. Now if you go through how you write down the configuration, it will be T2g, T2g3, right, 3 electrons are there and 1 electron is present here, so it is Eg1, it is Eg1, right. Other options are incorrect, you check it yourself. This is the appropriate answer. That means the configuration here you cannot see, I have overlapped it. So I am writing again T2g, how many electrons? 3 electrons, and Eg, how many electrons? 1 electron, when delta O is less than pairing, right. So next question. Next question is from polymers. Again very important or very information kind of a question. You should by heart these things, right. They are especially interested in the monomers. Polymer will be given, they will ask you what is the monomer, right. Okay. So natural rubber, everybody will know the monomer is isoprene, right, monomer is isoprene. So A should match with 4. So this is correct, A should match with 4. So I will see where A is matched with 4, okay, 1 and 4, but 2 and 3 they are not, so eliminate those, right. Now what about this Buna N and Buna S, right. N stands for nitrile and S stands for styrene. So where do you find that? You find this one here, you find this one here, so you match them, right. So that means C should match with 1, C should match with 1, yes, but here C is matched with 2, so I will again eliminate this, so it makes the answer 4, which makes the answer 4, right. So very easy, you start with the low hanging fruits, right, don't try to do something extraordinary, just do whatever you know. So automatically this neoprene gets matched to chloroprene, right. Next question. Now this is again a very basic question, stoichiometry, mole concept, every lecturer will do it, right. I can directly say this is 75% and this is 25% because it is there in my notes, it is there in my notes. Why will I do it again, right, why will I do it again? So basically the ratio, if you take out the ratio, it will be 3:1, it will be 3:1. So where is that option? That is 2. But if you are going to do this one, you need to find out the average molar mass formula. Say for example in nature chlorine 35 and chlorine 37 are found, and say for example the mole fraction of this one is X, which makes the mole fraction of this will be 1 minus X. Now what you do, X multiplied by 35 plus 1 minus X multiplied by 37, right. So this is going to give you average molar mass, which is given as 35.5. You solve this equation, you get the value of X, you will get X to be equal to 3/4. 3/4 means what? 75%. If X is equal to 3/4, 1 minus X will be equal to 1/4, which means 25%, right. Next question. The next question is from solutions, colligative properties, right. A very expected, very important question. Here what has been asked, you please go through it. A set of solutions is prepared, right, a set of solutions. What is the solvent? Water is the solvent. How much water? See, it is written 180 gram and 10 gram of a non-volatile solute. So solute is there, we don't know the solute, but it is 10 gram. but this solute varies. One time you have taken A, one time you have taken B, and another time you have taken C. So there are three different solutions, right? The relative lowering, they are asking, relative lowering of vapor pressure of these solutes in the order. They are giving you molar mass. They are giving you molar mass of these particular solids. Now relative lowering, do you know the formula? Yes. P naught minus Ps divided by P naught is equal to mole fraction of the solute multiplied by I. Now since nothing has been mentioned about I, so we will not focus there, but if you pay your attention to this mole fraction term, this mole fraction means what? How you can write down this mole fraction? Moles of solute divided by moles of the solution, that is total moles. Now this moles of solute, you can again write it down as what? Given mass divided by molar mass. Given mass divided by molar mass. So in that logic, molar mass will appear in the denominator. Now this is my colligative property, this is my colligative property, and what you are getting, colligative property is inversely proportional to molar mass. Why? Because this is moles of solute. Moles of solute, how you will write it down? Mass divided by molar mass. So molar mass will finally come in the denominator. So this is the molar mass of solute. It is inversely proportional to molar mass of the solute. That's it. That's your problem is done. So where is the higher molar mass? This is the highest molar mass. So colligative property will be lowest. The relative lowering will be lowest. So relative lowering will be highest here, and relative lowering will be lowest in C. So A should be greater, then B, then C. So this makes the answer. Let me do it once. C, the molar mass is the highest. C, the molar mass is highest. So colligative property has to be lowest. Colligative property has to be lowest. So yes, this is the correct answer. Yes, this is the correct answer. So from this relationship we can easily solve it out, right? Next question. The next question is again a gift from the main side. Let him complete. This one only, sir. This one only. This one done. Okay, sir, can I start? Okay, the next question is actually a gift from the examiner's point of view, right? So what to do? You split it up, right? Un means 1, nil indicates 0, and again un, it indicates 1. So what is the atomic number? 101, right? Next question. Next question is from ionic equilibrium, and it is they are asking solubility, right? So what is the sparingly soluble salt given to you? Yes, AB2. So you write down the equilibrium between the undissolved and the dissolved. And dissolved means what? Aqueous, right? And aqueous means what? A plus 2 aqueous followed by 2B minus aqueous. Now what is the solubility? Say for example the solubility is S, then this one will be S, but this one will be 2S. This one will be 2S. Now what will be the solubility product? How you are going to write down the solubility product? S multiplied by 2S square. S multiplied by 2S square. Now KSP is given to you. How much? Check. 3.2 into 10 to the power minus 11. Now if you simplify this one, you will get 4 into S cube, right? 4 into S cube. Let me make this one 32 into 10 to the power minus 12, which makes my life easier. If I cancel 4 and 32, I get 8. Then I take the cube root, right? I take the cube root, and what I am left with, that is 2 into 10 to the power minus 4. 2 into 10 to the power minus 4. You look at the format, they are asking in this one. So what is left? 2 is left. So answer is 2, right? Next question. Next question is very easy question actually. You just read it out. Solution of phenol in chloroform. Okay. What is phenol? I think phenol looks like this. Yes. and in chloroform, right? What is chloroform? CHCl3 treated with aqueous NaOH, that means NaOH solution. Now people, do you recollect something? This is Reimer-Tiemann reaction, right? This particular fellow, they will react and they are going to give you carbene via alpha elimination. Carbene via alpha elimination, right? And then there will be an attack from this phenol onto this one, and finally you are going to get benzaldehyde. You are going to get benzaldehyde. So this is what you should click. You should click in the exam, and because the mass percentage of carbon is asked, mass percentage of carbon is asked. This is my P. So you convert this into what? You convert this into molecular formula. How many? What will be the molecular formula? 6 carbons, 1 more carbon, that is 7 carbon. How many oxygen you see? We see oxygen, 2 oxygen, right? And how many hydrogen? Each of this carbon contain 1 hydrogen. So 4 are there. This is the 5th, this is the 6th. So hydrogen is 6. So C7H6O2. This will be the molecular formula. They are asking the percentage mass of carbon. So how to find the percentage mass? What is the mass of carbon? 12 into 7 people. 12 into 7. This is the mass of carbon. What is the total mass? 12 into 7 plus 6 into 1 plus 16 into 2. Say for example it is M. It is M. You put it here. What do you find this one? 12 into 7. How much is that? 70, 84. 84 plus 6, it is 90. 90 plus 32. 90 plus 32, it is 122. So 122 into 100. Into 100. This will give you the percentage of carbon in this particular compound P, right? Next question. Now the next question here you can see on the screen is from chemical kinetics, and they are asking about the alpha, that is the coefficient of temperature. Now what has been told to you in the question, the rate of the reaction is decreased by a factor, that is 3.55, right? When the temperature was changed from 40 degrees centigrade to 30 degrees centigrade, right? You know, temperature is lowered, the rate constant will be lowered, right? So let us move on and focus on to the Arrhenius equation. What was it? K is equal to A into e की power minus EA upon RT, right? You take logarithm or ln on both sides, you are going to get ln K, ln A, EA upon RT. Now what I can write from this equation is that, say for example this is K1 and this K1 is at a temperature T1, then I can apply the same and write K2 and rest of the thing same, and here we put a temperature T2. This is my equation 1, this is my equation 2. I subtract them. If I subtract them, what will I get? ln K1 upon K2. Now this term will get cancelled out, right? If this term will get cancelled out, what I am going to get? I am going to get, this will be a positive quantity, EA upon R will come outside, and this will become 1 upon T2 minus 1 upon T1. 1 upon T2 minus 1 upon T1. Now what is my T1? T1 is 40 degree centigrade. 40 degree centigrade means in Kelvin 273, that plus 40, that will be 330 in Kelvin. Now what is my T2? T2 is 30 degree centigrade and this is 303 Kelvin, right? Now which one is bigger, people? Now K, you think K1 and this is K2 and it is decreased, right? So that makes it what? This ratio is nothing but ln 1 upon 3.55. And then you have activation energy here and R value here. What about T2? T2 is 303. So 1 upon 303 minus T1. T1 is 313. 1 upon 313. you put the value there, and you can get the value of activation energy, that is this particular value, right. If you solve it out, you are going to get the answer, right. Next question. This question is from surface chemistry. Again, this Freundlich isotherm, this is the second or third time in this particular mains the same concept has been asked again. So Freundlich isotherm, a plot of x, log of x upon m versus log p, that means this is the plot they are talking about. On one axis they are taking log of x upon m, this particular quantity, and on other axis they are taking log p, right. So what is the relationship, people? X upon m is equal to p into k, and p raised to power 1 upon n. Now n is some integer like 1, 2, 3, like that. Now if you take a logarithm on both sides, you are going to get this particular relationship, right. If you are going to get this particular relationship, now what is c? This is my c, and this particular fellow is like m. If I consider this as y and this particular thing as x, so y is equal to mx plus c. It's a straight line. Yes, it is a straight line. The intercept and the slope, this is actually kind of a repeated question. Log k is given as 0.4771, which is nothing but log 3. You remove the 3 from both sides, k is equal to 3. Now the slope is given as 2, that means what? 1 upon n is equal to 2, or n is equal to half. The mass of the gas adsorbed per gram of the adsorbent when the pressure is this. So that means what? You use this value, x upon m here, x upon m. What is the pressure? Pressure is 4 into 10 to the power minus 2. What is 1 upon n? 1 upon n is a square there, and what is k? K is equal to 3. Now if you simplify it, 4 square will give you 16, 10 to the power minus 4, and there is a 3. So 16 into 3 will give you 48 into 10 to the power minus 4. So you see here minus 4 is already there. So what is the other thing left? That is 48. So this is the end of the analysis. I just give you a brief overview, not a very detailed discussion, but a very detailed analysis. Why? Because these things are usually meant for the aspirants or the candidates who have appeared in the exam, right? Now I want to highlight 2-3 key issues. In the last mains of January, in the entire country, out of the 9 students who got 100 percentile, 4 belong to our institute, right? So this is the kind of statistics we provide, right? Now I am very much sure that in this mains also we will be having the same kind of result, right? And we are launching courses for 11th, 12th as well as for droppers. So please take the informations as per your requirement from the nearest administrator's office. With this, I wrap up this edition. Hope you have liked it. Thank you very much.